Maniac masked men, changing tires, cheese graters to the testicles. This is PWS, Phil's Wrestling Show. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of PWS, Phil's Wrestling Show. On the show this week, I'll be covering TNA Genesis, and of course Raw, SmackDown, and Impact. Also got a couple figure reviews of Legend 6 Eddie Guerrero and Basic 13 Vicky Guerrero. Got a little husband-wife deal going there. And up first, let's review TNA Genesis. Alright, TNA Genesis from January 8th, 2012. I really enjoyed it as a pay-per-view. I liked it. I don't usually catch TNA pay-per-views, so sometimes I'll just be reviewing from results I've read, so I'll make sure to let you guys know that. The X Division 4-Way kicked things off. I thought that was a really fun match. I really enjoyed the high spots in this match. Let me go to my notes here. Aries 450, I really love that, just sticking it to Zema Ion, taking his move there. I always enjoyed that in wrestling. I always enjoy guys stealing each other's moves. I really enjoyed Zema Ion's corkscrew off the ropes. I mean, these young guys TNA bringing into the X Division are pretty good. I mean, they really like their high spots. One I really liked was Jesse Sorensen going from the far side of the ring, doing a flip over the whole ring post onto the guys. That was just nuts. I mean, he's kind of a bland character with the football gimmick, but I mean, people like him, so Jesse Sorensen, more power to you, brother. And of course, it was just great to see Aries win that, because he's doing so good as X Division champion. He's so douchey all the way around. And I really hope he gets to move up to main event levels in TNA. I mean, he's had a couple runs there, and he's just tearing it up right now as X Division champion. Then we had Pope versus Devon, the feud that never ends. It was an okay match, it's what you would expect Pope versus Devon to be. I was kind of surprised by this story with Devon's kids. I mean, it's not as intense as like the Raven and Sandman deal, because that was a little kid. I mean, these guys are ready to wrestle, so are they going to be in a 6-man feud? Is Devon going to find some help? Is he going to try to flip his kids? Or is this just it? The end of the storyline is going to get scrapped. We'll have to see in upcoming episodes of Impact, but not too much to see there. RVD versus Gunner, kind of interesting here. Again, another kind of middle-of-the-road match. I mean, I personally like RVD, so anytime RVD's in the ring, I'm digging it. Didn't really get into that high gear like you would want an RVD match to get into. I do appreciate Gunner's career killer storyline. It's a great way to build a guy like that. He is pretty intense. I mean, I wasn't really impressed when he first came along, but I'm really enjoying his work, and if he's really being helped out by Ric Flair, more power to him, because obviously Ric Flair is a legend in his own right. I'm also thinking if TNA is really done with RVD, this could be it. You know what I mean? I'd love to see RVD back in WWE if those rumors are true, and this would be a great way to write him out. gives Gunner a boost, gets RVD out of there clean, and we'll have to see what happens if RVD pops back up on WWE. Then we had Gail Kim defending the title against Mickie James, and how old school does it get with having Madison Rayne in the little cage above the ring? That is so very old school, but Madison Rayne is just great at playing a cowardly little heel that she is. And of course we had to get the old gag where a million sets of brass knucks. The match itself was actually pretty good. Like I said, up until the silliness with brass knuckles. Like, can we get a clean match between these two anytime soon, please? Thank you, TNA. From there, we moved on to Bully Ray versus Abyss, and this was everything I had hoped. I haven't seen a good, crazy, insane, hardcore match like that in a while. Bully Ray, of course, just been gold. I mean, he's always been gold on the mic, as far as I'm concerned, and Devon as well when they were the Dudley Boys. It was a pretty vicious match, but we kind of had to expect that going in. Abyss will do anything to himself, and Bubba Ray, Bully Ray, he's never one to shy away from taking some insane spots himself. The senton sandwich between the barbed wire boards, that was insanity. I mean, anything can go wrong there, no matter how good a veteran you are. And man, Bully Ray was stiff in Abyss with those Singapore cane shots at the end. I mean, that was getting hard to watch, turning into the Passion of Abyss right in front of our eyes. From there, we had Crimson and Matt Morgan versus Samoa Joe and Magnus. Now, Samoa Joe and Magnus is a kind of whipped together team who won the wild card tournament, but I kind of like it, you know what I mean? Magnus has come along in the ring, kind of wants to be TNA's equivalent of Wade Barrett, but he's not quite there yet. And of course, Samoa Joe, at the very worst, is just an entertaining brawler. But I mean, he's a main event guy and should be being wasted. I think he's kind of wasted in feuds like this. But if it helps get Matt Morgan and Christian up there, then it's something TNA is doing right, because they need to make their own stars for them to really stand out. I thought we saw good improvement from Crimson as well in this match. I think he's coming along well for a younger guy. I'm glad they didn't go with him as the winner of the Bound for Glory tournament. They realized this is not quite as experienced as we would like. And I think this tag team with Matt Morgan will really help him along. Really left me thinking who was next for Crimson and Matt Morgan, but I'll get to that in the Impact report. From there, we moved on to James Storm versus Kurt Angle. I had pretty lofty expectations for this match. I heard they've been ripping it up recently. I thought Storm's promo was pretty funny off the bat. And the match was really well paced. These two, of course, Kurt Angle is very experienced, and James Storm been ripping it up in Beer Money for the past few years, finally getting to go out on his own. I really liked Storm's kick to the arm, spinning Kurt around and then right into the leg sweep. I really appreciate little spots like that. Wasn't completely surprised Kurt Angle won. We thought this feud might continue, and of course it did. I also really loved James Storm's spot with the code breaker or lung blower, whatever you like to call it, the knees into the chest. Bounced Kurt Angle right into the ropes, right into a diamond cutter. I really liked that little spot. And it would play out again in the week on Impact. And then we, of course, had the TNA Genesis main event. Robert Roode is the champion, taking on Jeff Hardy. And, TNA, they get their fair criticism on storylines, but something they've really done well over the past, even 3 or 4 years is they've really stepped up their video packages. And the one for the main event with Bobby Roode and Jeff Hardy, I really liked it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Their quality is really taking a nice step up. Of course, Bobby Roode had a solid promo before the match. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed Jeff Hardy's new variation on the Poetry in Motion off the steps into the guardrail. It came off really great on Genesis, and they did a different variation on Impact, and it's a really good spot. Really gets the people, out of their seats. I thought the match overall was good. Of course, till we got to another wacky ending for Bobby Roode. And this is where I think TNA hurts themselves, You could still have Bobby Roode win through cheating, and not have a stupid finish like this. Like, it was too slow. I feel Jeff was just standing there for a long time before Roode kicked the referee in the nuts. It was just a little too drawn out at the end. That didn't feel like the sense of urgency that I feel like they were trying to convey. Like, Bobby Roode was on the edge and finally just kicked the referee in the nuts. But the way they went around the ring for a while, like, if you're Jeff Hardy and you knew you had Bobby Roode done, you'd go in for the kill instead of just standing there looking at Bobby Roode being afraid in the corner. So you really got to work on their pace, and if something like that's going to go down, it needs to go down quickly, in a little more real, a more realistic fashion. So overall, not a bad pay-per-view. The two low blow endings, the last two matches, kind of hurt it. I feel one of those matches should have at least had I guess Curtain Storm did have a clean ending because the referee was distracted. But I just think TNA should really stop the thing of crappy finishes on the pay-per-view and real finishes on the show. If you really want people to pay the money for the pay-per-views, have the clean endings on the pay-per-views. So that's my Genesis review, and we'll be right back. PWS Phil here on the road, here to give you guys a store report. For anybody looking in Big Lots, recently just checked. I just got out of a Big Lots. They had the Mysterio and Kane Rumblers ring. They had a basic Raw ring for $19, which is no deal at all. They had a leftover Mark Henry MVP 2-packs for $15, and Talkin' Flex Force MVP for $13. Just came out of Target as well. They have Elite 12, so if you're on the lookout for those, keep an eye at your local Target, but they are up to $17.99 in my area. They also had a couple of the Champions 2-packs left, as well as the Flex Force 2-packs. Cena, Undertaker, Kane, Orton, with the belts, and those were $19.99 each. So that's the store report for right now. This past Monday's Raw, January 9th, 2012, time for a review. Raw, January 9th, 2012. Now let me just say ahead of time that I do actually love WWE. It is my favorite wrestling promotion in the world. But past week's Raw was a little rough around the edges, even I must say, as a diehard WWE fan. This one was a little rough. Let's see. Let me go to my notes here. Kane promo. Gotta say, the video from the week before's Raw, they had used some dramatic music before, and it really cheesed it up. I was really glad they switched it to like a more action type music because it was a little cheesy. I thought Kane's promo was actually pretty good. I mean, there were a few good highlights in this show, even though some of it was silliness and weirdness. I really thought there was some highlights. Kane's promo at the top of the show, I mean, he was just healing on everybody. The Cena haters, the Cena lovers, Cena. He was just trying to piss everybody off. And I guess that's what they want now. I mean, it kind of looked like they were trying to get the Cena haters on Kane's side, but now he's just shitting on everybody and just wants everybody to hate him. And it worked. I mean, they were booing the hell out of him, so that was good. It was a good little brawl between Kane and Cena going throughout the arena. I didn't mind it too much. And I like that Cena used the crowbar, kind of showing that Cena's, maybe he's cracking a bit under the pressure of all this. And maybe we will see a heel turn within the 2012, 2013 years, you know what I mean? I've always said we're not going to get a heel Cena until somebody can replace him. And good old Zack Ryder just may be that guy. After that, we had Sheamus and Santino versus Wade Barrett and Jinder Mahal. Sheamus and Santino is a unique pairing, to say the least, considering their storyline problems in the past. It was an okay match. I mean, nothing really went on there. No big developments between Wade Barrett and Sheamus. I'm going ahead and saying right now that Sheamus is going to take the Rumble this year. I just got a feeling he's been on a roll ever since the Mark Henry feud started at SummerSlam, and he's been built up, and I've been thinking he's going to get a match, but now that everything that's gone down, I think all that build-up was bringing him directly to winning the Royal Rumble. I understand in St. Louis a lot of people thinking Randy Orton's going to take it, but I personally think that is a waste of a Rumble win. Randy Orton is not ever that far from getting a title match. All it takes is one good match on SmackDown, and he'd be considered a contender right off the bat. It was good to see Santino pick up a victory, considering he is a comedy wrestler. But I think even though he's a comedy character, it doesn't mean you have to be a comedy wrestler. And it was good to see him pick up a win. And he's so over. You figure you got to use this guy in a more important role, and I think we'll see that as we head towards WrestleMania. Then we had some backstage stuff with The Miz looking for help, a bodyguard to help keep R-Truth away from him. John Laurinaitis, of course, was no help whatsoever, and let Miz know that he wasn't a little Jimmy, he was a big Johnny. And not a shit was given that day. And I think The Miz with a bodyguard would just be a great storyline anyway. I mean, he's such a douche. I think it's a good spot when someone gets put with a heel like that, because you can go any way with it. They can become a great heel, or they can be flipped and turned into a great face. I mean, I don't know what happened with Alex Riley, but I was personally enjoying the Alex Riley versus Miz feud. You know what I mean? Miz just came off fighting Cena. It was hot. Riley turning on Miz, that was hot, but something got lost in the shuffle somewhere, and now Alex Riley's nowhere to be found, and Miz is at the top of the card looking for a new bodyguard. So, circle of wrestling life, I guess. Then we had the announcement that Edge is going into the Hall of Fame. I can't say I was totally shocked. I'm pretty sure most of us felt this was going to happen after Edge's unfortunate retirement. Edge is one of my favorite guys all time, and really deserving. Really, I can't find a more deserving person, from the modern era. Just a guy you would automatically think would be Hall of Fame. And with all the stuff going on with Edge, DVD coming out around the same time, movie coming out around the same time, we might see Edge as the new general manager after WrestleMania, if the whole Laurinaitis thing gets tied up by then. And I think that would really add a lot to the show. People love Edge. He's a ratings getter. You definitely think he would be an automatic guy you'd want to be as general manager. Then we went backstage again. Miz looking at Mason Ryan as a potential bodyguard. That wouldn't be too bad for Mason Ryan, but he turned it down, of course, being the good old face that he is. And that took a cut to Kane stalking Ryder, which would go on throughout the show. I mean, basically filler. It was okay stuff. Then we had what potentially could have been a really good match given the length. Kofi Kingston versus Daniel Bryan. Criminally short of a match. But considering how short this match was, it was actually really good. I mean, you can't put it up against like a Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels Iron Man match. Don't misunderstand me, but for the short time that they got, I really think they did a lot of good stuff in there. And I'm really loving Bryan riding the fence of heelness, faceness. You know, he's really trying to just, not bitching yet. He's still saying, hey, I'll give anyone a shot. He's just getting to that point, and we'll have to see what happens at Royal Rumble if Daniel Bryan will fully evolve into a heel by then, which is certainly the way things are going. That's how it's going to be. Then we had our big debut, finally, the one and only Brodus Clay making his debut on Raw, and I'm sure, like many people, I was surprised at the new gimmick. But, to be fair, he looks into it. And I think if Brodus is into it, that's going to help it greatly. And one thing I've been complaining about last few years is there's certainly a lack of main event faces. I mean, we got Cena, we got Orton, now we have Punk and Sheamus. But you still need more. And I think if Brodus had come in as a monster, it'd be too similar to Mark Henry already. So they wanted to mix it up a bit, and I mean, this Funkasaurus character certainly shines a spotlight on Sheamus. So if it gets Sheamus over, and I mean, if it gets Brodus over, and Brodus is enjoying it, I say why not? Let's see where it goes. If it turns to shit, then it turns to shit. But I think if anyone can make it work, it can be Brodus. He had a little interview on WWE.com. He seemed really into it. And I think this is going to be good. He still had the same moveset. He's still crushing people. But he's a face, a fun-time face. Let's see where it goes, and don't judge it just yet. And of course, throughout the night, the Miz bodyguard storyline and the Ryder getting stalked by Kane storyline continue. The next bit was Miz asking Primo and Epico for their assistance, while Rosa looked like $1 million in her pink dress. It was just okay, just filler. Yeah, Punk went by and gave him a little chuckle. Then we got more stuff. Like I said, Kane stalking Zack. Just trying to get Zack up there, I guess. Get him some more sympathy votes. Get Kane some more heel votes, just building them up a bit. Then we had an interesting situation. CM Punk versus Jack Swagger. Now, my hat's off to these two because they basically saved the show on the wrestling side. And really, I don't know. I kind of feel bad for Jack Swagger on one hand because his wrestling is really top-notch. He's really getting up there on the wrestling side. I know he has somewhat of a rough time on promos, but he really had a good match with Punk. And I enjoyed John Laurinaitis, of course. He's almost on the same deal like Daniel Bryan, even though John Laurinaitis is firmly, obviously a heel. He still likes to ride the fence, throughout these little things like Vicky and Jack will be banned from ringside at the Rumble if Punk wins. So I kind of enjoy the fact that he's not fully out there as a heel yet, verbally, but of course everybody hates his guts anyway because he's boring as hell and just terrible all around. And the match, of course, really got marred. I mean, this does not happen too often in the WWE, but it does happen. The referee fucked up and said it was a 3 count on Jack Swagger when it really wasn't. And you could obviously tell by CM Punk's reaction that this was not how the match was supposed to go down. And but they went through it like champs and just powered on through. And I'm sure if they had anything else planned, they'll try to mix it back up on this week's Raw. But like I said, it was a really good match. Saved the show on the wrestling side of things. And really sad to not to see the full finish that was intended because of the referee's little mar there. And we'll have to see if referee Jack Doan gets five. They're five. And then, like they love to do, of course, we got, this time we got Cena and Ryder backstage. And, of course, this is good, too. Because, like I said, if we really want Cena to turn heel, we need someone to take his place. And they're really lining up Ryder, because these two are, like, best friends forever now. It's just a good spot for both guys, I think. You know, some people that still may be hating on Cena may like that he's teaming with Ryder, and it'll even things out a bit. You know, less boos for Cena, more cheers for Ryder. Might work out for everyone. Then we got into absolute silliness with the Bellas, Miz, and Ricardo Rodriguez backstage. The Bellas invited Ricardo all the way up to Raw from Mexico, and he just accepted it without knowing what was going on, so tells you the intelligence of the Ricardo Rodriguez character. Loved Miz just being a dick, using the simplest Spanish words to talk to Ricardo Rodriguez. And the Bellas, of course, it's just dumb. It's just dumb all the way around. After that, we got 4 Horsemen in the Hall of Fame, which I'm sure is causing lots of controversy because of the specific, so many people excluded that were Horsemen. But, I mean, you can't have 13 people on stage. I mean, if NWO goes in the Hall of Fame, we're going to have 35 people on stage getting Hall of Fame rings. Some of those people, of course, multiple Hall of Famers already within that, so just calm down. You know, the 4 Horsemen that went in are arguably the most popular variation of the group, so I think it'll be a good thing all the way around. And if you really want to believe all the Horsemen ever went into the Hall of Fame, then this means Chris Benoit went into the Hall of Fame. So, for all you Benoit lovers out there, there's a good thing for us. It's kind of like Benoit went into. And it's kind of like Dean Malenko went into, you know, like, just consider all the Horsemen in. Why not? Then we continued back to silliness with Ricardo Rodriguez calling out R-Truth with some of the lamest insults of the year, like your mother is ugly. I'm pretty sure Ricardo never saw R-Truth's mother, so that is not a fair thing to say. And of course, R-Truth silliness was just fun all the way around, coming out and making Ricardo sing La Cucaracha for all the fans in attendance. And it's just really all this is really just a slow rebuild for R-Truth. Miz came in and got a few shots in, but Truth turned it back around and chased him off, so they're kind of getting R-Truth back up there as a face, but of course in this crazy little Jimmy gimmick. Overall, it was just some silliness, you know, filling some time, getting the R-Truth and Miz feud in there. And then, of course, on to probably one of my favorite segments of the show. The returning Chris Jericho coming out again this week, trying to muster some words for all the Jerichoholics. And of course, I love that Justin Roberts was the one to mention that that Jericho defeated The Rock and Stone Cold in one night to become the first ever champion. He's getting other people to do all his lines from the old heel character, and it's working really well. I mean, the people are cheering him like a maniac. I can't wait for when he reveals his true intentions and just... I'm sure he'll viciously attack someone unmercifully and leave them laying, and we'll get the old Jericho angry face. And we'll get the some variation of Jericho. I'm sure he won't go completely back to the old gimmick, but should be good either way. I really enjoyed him being overwhelmed with emotion, and he couldn't talk, and the crying, and I really love the thumbs up at the end as he was leaving. I mean, just hilarious stuff, and the payoff to all this should be good. Don't know how many more weeks we can go with Jericho going into the ring and not being able to speak, but I'll take it for as many weeks as we can get it, because I know he's going to get involved physically at some point. You know, this can't go on forever like 97 Sting being quiet in the rafters. He's going to have to make a move probably at the Rumble, I would assume. So we might get a couple more weeks of silliness, but I really enjoyed it. Jericho's a maniac, and I can't wait to see who he's getting in the ring with soon. Then we had probably one of the worst segments in recent memory with Eve Torres was supposed to take on Beth Phoenix, and Kane's music came on. Now, this started out good. I will give him that. This started out good. So instead of Beth's music coming on after Eve came out, Kane's music came on. And, of course, Eve Torres got scared shitless, and the woo-woo-woo kid himself came out to help her escape, and this is where it was still good, because Kane can appear from just about anywhere, so I understand that. But then, once they got to their car, Zack Ryder noticed that the tire had been slashed, and we were subject to not one, but 2 segments of Zack Ryder changing a tire. Now, this means that someone threw out the idea of having 2 segments with Zack Ryder changing a tire, and they were approved. This is a terrible segment for a wrestling show. First of all, you have Eve sitting in the car yelling for help while Zack Ryder tries to change a tire in time before Kane gets there. You're pretty much surrounded by weapons to use. You've been in much worse situations with The Undertaker when you were an Edgehead. It's really times like this when the writers just kill the continuity. Like, even Cena found a crowbar and hit Kane in the knee. I mean, I would have felt this was better if maybe Zack had put Eve in the car to keep her safe and then went to go find Kane. You know, it would at least show that Zack can find the confidence to fight Kane when Eve is in danger, even if the rest of the time he's scared himself. I felt that would have been a much better way to do this. Watching Zack Ryder change tire, not good. Terrible. Don't do it again, guys. It's a waste of time for everybody involved. And eventually we got back to some reasonableness. Kane chokeslammed Ryder off the stage, off the loading dock. Unfortunately, they stacked the pads too high, and we've seen Zack Ryder's head and leg kick up. I mean, at least he sold it. At least we didn't see Zack Ryder rolling off the pads to safety. That would have been really bad. But, yeah, they cut that badly. In between all that mess, there was some of John Cena versus Dolph Ziggler. Those two actually put on pretty good matches, but they didn't even get really the chance to. They started the match, and that's when they showed more of Zack changing a tire and getting attacked by Kane. Even that whole situation, maybe it wouldn't have been as bad if there wasn't so much of Zack Ryder changing a tire. On the flip side of things, if this is solidly rebuilding Kane, but overall, this was a very rough episode of Raw. I mean, Kane's promo, Punk versus Swagger. I mean, that's about it for highlights out of this. If you got time, you got a couple minutes to kill, check out Kofi versus Daniel Bryan. That was good. But overall, hoping for better things from this Monday's upcoming Raw. Just bad. Just bad. Time for TNA Impact Review. Alright guys, now as a follow-up to TNA's Genesis this past week, of course we had Impact on January 12th. Let's take a look. Things kicked off with the Bobby Roode promo. I thought it was more solid work from Bobby. I really enjoy the chemistry between Sting and Bobby Roode, the face GM and the heel champion. I think it's been really good, and I hope maybe at some point down the road we can get a one-on-one with Rude and Sting. I think it would be a decent payoff one time. Sting can still go when he really wants to, and Bobby Roode's been burning it up for a while. You know, if I was WWE and wanted to handpick some people from TNA, that's certainly a guy I'd want to pick up. One thing, like I mentioned earlier, I really don't like TNA putting up main event matches right after the pay-per-view on Impact. Really think it's an insult to the people who spent the money on the pay-per-view, you know? Impact is always going to be there for the most part, and just giving away matches you just had on the pay-per-view right that week, I just think it's not the greatest decision-making. I mean, you want people to buy pay-per-views, and then you give them screwy finishes on the pay-per-views, and then give them the proper matches on Impact? That's not very smart business. I mean, just my opinion, but I don't think it was good. I think it would have been much better this week to do Storm and Hardy versus Angle and Rude, so people could push the rematches to next week's show, so that people, you could promote that title match a bit better, and promote the rematch with Storm and Angle better. But no, they just shot them right on Impact, and I just think it's an insult to people who spend money on the pay-per-view. Then we had Crimson and Matt Morgan running into each other outside of Direct Auto Insurance, and basically doing a promo about their match that night against Rob Terry and Robbie E., but also cutting a promo about Direct Auto Insurance and how great it is. I mean, I'm glad for TNA that they got a sponsor that's so behind them like Direct Auto Insurance, but this was a little bit much over the top. Hey, they got to pay the bills. The actual match itself, Rob and Rob versus Crim Morgan, as I like to call it, Crim Morgan. Of course, we got a nice shot of Christy, who was 1,000 degrees of hotness, like she always is. And of course, this was just okay. Robbie E., I think, is better suited in X Division matches. He doesn't really have that great of matches versus larger guys. He's basically just bumping around like a jobber for big guys at all times. I understand that kind of plays into his character, but he could still do more when up against bigger guys. I really felt, even though I felt Crimson had improvements at the pay-per-view, that it was really not Crimson's night on Impact. I thought Crimson and Robbie E. were looking pretty rookie-ish. Especially, they had a spot where Crimson was taking Robbie E. by the foot, and it just went on too long. Like, eventually Crimson just dropped an elbow on his back, but the amount of time spent watching Crimson hold Robbie E. by the leg, who was crawling towards Matt Morgan, it was just weird all the way around. It was not good. And it was good to see that Joe and Magnus came back out and attacked Crimson and Morgan, because I think they had a good match at the pay-per-view, and I think they're pretty natural as a heel tag team, Joe and Magnus. And I'm glad to see they'll be getting another match, and that feud will continue. Then we moved on after the commercial break to the Garrett Bischoff versus Eric Bischoff feud. We got a quick video package on that, and it was another well done by TNA. I really enjoyed the video package on that feud. And say what you will about Eric Bischoff, but as far as healing on people on the mic, he is gold. Definitely a great heel. He's played over the years. He should be by now. He's had lots of experience being a dick on the mic, and he was great here again. And even though I understand a lot of people don't like this feud, they think it's really self-serving to Garrett Bischoff, I gotta give him his little bit of credit. He was pretty solid for his part. I really like when they use the feud in this fashion. I mean, if this was the main event feud of TNA, then I'd definitely shit upon him more, just trying to get Bischoff's kid over, but when they do it like this, when it's in the show and it's subtle and it doesn't eat up a lot of time and it's well done like this, it just works, and I hope all the best for Garrett Bischoff. I just hope they don't push him to the moon too fast. Keep it at this nice slow pace from rookie to main eventer, and it just be something TNA can put on their resume of another guy they built from nothing. Really, the characters they need like that. They need a lot of homemade guys to go along with the great legends that they have in place. We got a small little segment with Angelina and Winter. I was personally just happy to see him on the show. I always heard a lot that Winter was a great wrestler. She didn't really get a chance to show that as much when she was in WWE as Katie Lee Burchill. But of course she's had a lot of chances to show it in TNA. I think she is okay. She does tend to have her pretty big botches in matches at times. She's not quite as refined as a Gail Kim or a Mickie James. But she's really good at playing her Winter character, and I wish she would have got more chances to show that in WWE. And of course Angelina is usually great in any role. I really wish they would have fleshed out the story with Angelina and Winter more after they finally became aligned, but what we get is what we get, I guess. And like I said, I'm just glad to see them both on the show. Of course, we got a recap on Eric Young and ODB. I really like these two. I think their bits are really funny together, and their characters just play off really well. That led to an actual match between Winter and ODB. There wasn't really a lot in this match as far as ODB versus Winter. I mean, they went through the motions. The real highlights of this match is Eric Young acting like a maniac, and the stuff that Winter and ODB did do was basically their big, their main spots. And overall, it was really entertaining. If you're looking for a pure competition match of Winter versus ODB, this was not the place to come. This was pure comedy from beginning to end, but it was really entertaining. And I hope all those people involved get to do more, because they're usually really good on the show, no matter where you stick them. So definitely good, funny stuff there. After that, we got back into some more seriousness. AJ Styles came out. He didn't want nothing to do with anything except wanting to know why Taz ditched him last week on Impact. I thought the promo work was solid by everybody involved. It's definitely something new for AJ to do. I don't think a lot of people have seen the Kaz turn coming. And I am interested to see what Christopher Daniels has over at Kazarian. Like, how is he using Kazarian to get at AJ? Is it going to be something about Tracy Brooks? Is it going to be something from the past? Something from the Fortune days? Who knows? But this little storyline certainly has me interested, and that's obviously always a good thing. After this, we got slipped into a silliness little spot here. We had a Bully Ray and Bobby Roode in the backstage area, and it was clearly obvious that Bully Ray was taking shots at WWE, because he was so happy that he trended worldwide on Twitter after his match with Abyss, and it was all he could talk about with Bobby Roode, who was obviously very concerned with defending his championship against Jeff Hardy later in the night. Out of that segment, I also really like that the team of Bobby Roode and Bully Ray is known as Calves and Abs, because Bully Ray has allegedly the best calves in wrestling, and I guess that would mean Bobby Roode is the abs portion. So if that ever gets talked about again on TNA, I think that would be some more comedy gold to add. It was just really silly, fun stuff to fill a little time there backstage. Kind of flip back into seriousness again with Storm. James Storm came out and cut a promo. And I'd just like to say about Storm that I really think he's doing an excellent job with this character. A lot of guys, I think, would take the Southern gimmick and basically just do a Stone Cold Steve Austin ripoff. But I think James Storm really makes it his own. I mean, I'm not denying James Storm is a redneck guy, which probably is what helps so much. Is that I believe Steve Austin said many a time the best character is just your own personality with the volume turned up, and James Storm's really kicking on all cylinders. You know what I mean? I mean, if I told you there's a beer-swollen Southern guy on TNA, you'd think it's just a Stone Cold ripoff, but he really does a great job with this character. Really enjoys work too. He does like to use a lot of WWE finishers in his moveset, but I mean, if you want to be successful, you got to do things people know, and having a collection of WWE finishers as your moveset is not a bad way to go about things. I thought it was a really excellent promo by Storm. Kurt kept it short and sweet. He came out, just said, hey, real typical heelish stuff. I already beat you, and I got nothing else to prove, despite the fact he was already defeated twice by James Storm. And I really don't want to shit on this segment at all, but I really want to stress again that having the instant rematches on the show after the PB pay-per-view really hurts. I mean, really, if you plunk down your $30 to watch TNA pay-per-view and you get crappy finishes, and then come to find out you could have just waited and see the two main events right on Impact. That is, like I said, it's just not good business overall. I thought at the beginning that actually Sting came out and actually made a match for Storm versus Angle right then and there. I really thought it was kind of funny at the start of the match. Kurt had to run all the way backstage and get into his wrestling attire, and he almost lost by 10 count because he missed his entrance and was putting on his singlet. I thought the first half of the match was really so-so. I mean, no offense to these guys, but it was just, Kurt kept running away, and I understand, but it was really not that great in the first half. And then they went to commercial, and when they came back from the commercial, that half of the match was really great and really was on par, or maybe even surpassed the pay-per-view match. I really did enjoy that. And it was good to see Storm win and move on to get a title shot. He had the title for a little bit at the end of last year before Bobby Roode turned heel, and they kind of separated those two and let them simmer a bit over the past few months. And Storm is number one contender. I think will be good business. I think he should be the top face. Appears to be the top face, right up, maybe right even with Jeff Hardy, in some people's opinion. I really think he should be the top face in the company. I think he's doing the best job all around, and I'd really like to see him get another run with the belt if anybody's going to take it off Bobby Roode. We got a quick promo by Jeff Hardy that wasn't too bad. After that, some quick stuff backstage with Madison Rayne, still believing she's going to be the vice president of the Knockouts, and Sting let her know that is not going to happen, and in fact she would face Mickie James in a cage next week. Don't know what to expect for that one. As much as I enjoy Madison's character, and as much as she has stepped it up in the ring, I don't know if she can carry a cage match with Mickie James, especially after the cage match Tara and Mickie James had last year on Impact. Madison's really going to have to bring her A game to match the quality of past Mickie James cage matches. Then finally, to end out Impact, of course, was Hardy once again going for the title against Robert Roode. It was pretty similar to the pay-per-view match. I really liked the way they changed the spot with the poetry in motion off the steps. I really liked that Jeff Hardy missed that. Bounced off the rail. It looked great. It really got the people in the arena into Jeff Hardy now being down, because Jeff Hardy was pretty much just dominant through all the way up to that spot, and it's a really effective, good-looking spot. we got another commercial break, and then this was another match where after the commercial break, really stepped up. It was good. And then we got what could possibly be an even lamer finish from the pay-per-view, where Bully Ray pulled the referee out of the ring. And what made this so weird and awkward and not good is that throughout the show, things that happened, and Sting was pretty much there every time within pretty quickly to right those wrongs. And then in the biggest segment of the night, he doesn't come out and say anything. So Bobby Roode was under the stipulation that if he got DQ'd, he'd lose the belt. So Bully Ray pulling out the referee kind of left everything up in the air. And I mean, you do want stuff like that, so people tune in next week. But I don't know, just weird. It didn't come off very well. So for a pretty good episode of Impact, it was a pretty sour ending. I'd still consider it a good show for the week. I kind of like where things are going. I'm guessing we're going to get Storm versus Rude versus Hardy at the pay-per-view, which should be, I mean, on paper, that sounds like a pretty excellent match. I think they should really just let this match have a clean finish. You know, I think Bobby Roode would really benefit from winning that match cleanly. You know, and people, you know, would love to see who out of Hardy and Storm would get the next shot after that. So that's the Impact review for this week. And when we come back, time for some figure reviews.
This will be your last conquest. What was to expect? Better accept. I don't know. Insinuate the vile vermin dancing in my soul.
Alright guys, time for the SmackDown review. It was a pretty unique episode of SmackDown this week. We opened up with Daniel Bryan cutting a promo, of course, talking about having to defend his title against Big Show in a no DQ match. And I really like this variation character on Daniel Bryan, this walking the line of heel and face. It's almost Kurt Angle-like, if you remember Kurt Angle's old gimmick when he first started in WWE of intensity, integrity, and intelligence. But he was a cheating bastard. And even though Daniel Bryan hasn't jumped completely into heelishness, obviously it's coming. Mark Henry was really great. He's just so good on the mic as this character. And I really feel he could have been doing this probably for the past 5 years. And just either backstage issues, politics, who knows. But I'm glad he's getting the opportunity to do it now. And he certainly takes advantage of any chance he has on screen. And that's what anybody's got to do when you make it to WWE. And one thing that's really bugging me, though, about turning Daniel Bryan heel is what's going to happen with Cole now? I mean, is Cole going to jump on his bandwagon? Are they going to try to position Cole as a heel on one show with Bryan as the champion and as a face on when he's on SmackDown with Daniel Bryan, and then a heel on Raw? I mean, it's not really going to work. Something needs to be done with Michael Cole. He should only be on one show at this point anyway, but he's hated on Daniel Bryan for so long now. Turning Daniel Bryan heel how is that dynamic going to work? I don't know. It's going to be weird. I have a feeling it's going to be weird. After all that got set up, they set up Mark Henry getting a title match next week against the winner, and really stacking the deck against Bryan, monster after monster. After that segment, we moved on to Justin Gabriel versus Heath Slater. I was just happy to see them both on SmackDown. I think they both have a lot of potential. Heath Slater is just a hateable looking guy. He's going to be a great heel if he can stay out of trouble over his next few years. I mean, hateable look, takes bumps good. He's really just got to fill out his move set a bit better, and he'll be good to go. Maybe a catchphrase or two. Gabriel, I enjoy his work. I think he's good in the ring. He's really got to work on a personality, though. He can't do everything on pure wrestling abilities anymore. I really don't think Heath Slater versus Hornswoggle as a feud needs to go on much longer. I really don't have anything against Hornswoggle. I think he's earned his spot at this point. He's done a lot. But I don't think this is the best way to use him. There needs to be something else. I don't think the guy should be fired, but I don't think a feud with such a low-ranking guy is going to help. If it helps Heath Slater get booed, then that's obviously a good thing. But outside of that, I just don't think it works in this feud. And then we got a little bit of backstage stuff with AJ Lee and Daniel Bryan. Of course, Daniel Bryan's staying on his heel turn, but I really hope that she kind of turns heel along with him. I think that's a real strong thing in pro wrestling, and in WWE. It's done well over the years. Is the heel and heel couples? It's just a thing that works. I know they got Derek Bateman and Maxine doing it on NXT, but I really think the Daniel Bryan, AJ heel and heel team would be an interesting mix. He's already a little guy by WWE standards. And the idea of him possibly hiding behind the even tinier AJ, I think, would make for a lot of good moments of just heelery. After that, we got Cody cutting the promo all over the Texans, pretty much accusing Texas of being more than half full with Mexicans. Just being a dick. Saying he's been champion for 5 months and all this. Just good work by Cody. I was kind of worried when he had the mask that the mask was going to become too much of a focus. And then when he lost the mask, I was afraid that he wasn't going to have enough personality. But he's certainly proven me wrong. He's cutting good heel promos every week. And I really hope, whether it happens at WrestleMania or not, I think the match with him and Dustin, whenever it comes, Goldust, will definitely be a good one. Goldust certainly sounds like he'd like to be retired by his brother, so no matter when that match actually goes down, the real match with a clean finish, I think it'll be a good one to look forward to. Cody took on Zeke, who was kind of all over the place. I believe it was last week he defeated Drew McIntyre by holding the tights. I wasn't sure if that was a sign of things to come, but I guess not, because he was playing face here against Cody. It was a really short match. A lot of matches on SmackDown this week were just short. Kind of a waste of Zeke, I think. Not that he was doing anything great on his Intercontinental title run, but just a way to have such a short match. I think this is a spot that would have worked for Gabriel better because maybe they could have had a bit longer of a match. Either way, it kept Cody strong, and he's obviously an up-and-coming guy for the future, so Zeke still needs a lot of work. So overall, it wasn't a bad thing. Just a bit too short. We got some backstage stuff with Santino and Teddy Long. Anything where Santino is talking backstage is going to be, at the very least, amusing. Him going over all the old decisions and stuff, and we got a Jack Tunney reference. I can't have too many of those. Ended up setting a match with Santino versus David Otunga. I like Otunga. Obviously, even though I'm a fan of his, I know damn well he needs work in the ring. But I thought it wasn't too bad. We got a little thing from Drew in there too, and he got set up in a match with. Who did he get in a match with? Oh yeah, Ted DiBiase. He got set up for that. So basically, the whole Santino Teddy thing was just filler overall, just to set up a couple matches and move on to the commercial break. When we got back, we did have Ted DiBiase versus Drew McIntyre. And it's good to see Ted DiBiase getting himself over with this DiBiase posse. I think it should be more focused on SmackDown, at least maybe a short video package, a DiBiase celebrating with the DiBiase posse. I think that would really help promote that. Good to see Drew McIntyre back in storylines. I think the kid has a lot of potential. I enjoy his work. I think he has a great look, great entrance. I mean, one of the best entrance themes of the modern era. Another short one, perhaps too short. Like I said, that was a theme running throughout this week's SmackDown, a lot short, right to the point matches. Just hope this is a new starting point for Drew. I mean, I'm thinking maybe they should even consider flipping him face. I mean, SmackDown certainly is feeling a little heel heavy. I think the whole WWE in general is a little heel heavy at the moment, and we need good quality faces to help get some more viewers. So Ted picked up the victory, and Drew's downward spiral continues. Don't really know. I mean, he's going to have to start winning matches soon. I don't know where else they can really go with this, unless Drew possibly will be the newest acquisition of Vicky Guerrero. I think that would be a great place to flip the script and have Drew start winning some matches. From there, we went on to Sheamus versus Jinder Mahal. I like Jinder. I like his look. Enjoy his gimmick. I'm glad with the whole thing with Great Khali is done. Not a fan of the Great Khali, I gotta say. Nothing personally against the guy. I don't know the guy, but his wrestling was just terrible. And I'm kind of glad he's gone, and I'm glad Jinder has moved on. And I think a feud with Sheamus is really good because Jinder's not in a spot far off from where Sheamus was when he first came in. The foreign guy gimmick. I like that they gave him the camel clutch. That's a pretty famous move from history to go in until he comes up, fills out his moveset with his own stuff. And he didn't get completely run over this time. I remember a few weeks back, as soon as he set foot inside the ring, Sheamus Bro kicked him. So this was definitely a step up from that. And yeah, I think this is just more continue a push of Sheamus winning the Royal Rumble. He's really my pick this year. I think Daniel Bryan and Sheamus got robbed last year at WrestleMania having a great match. And if Daniel Bryan does happen to make it all the way to WrestleMania, I think a Sheamus-Daniel Bryan match for the world title would really be awesome. Let those two have 30 minutes and see what they can do. By the time we get to WrestleMania, who knows? Could be Wade Barrett, Sheamus, Daniel Bryan, Christian could be in there. I mean, who really knows? That might just be high expectations or dream match for me, but I really like to see Daniel Bryan and Sheamus at least be in the SmackDown main event for WrestleMania. We got another spot with this time AJ asking Big Show, or talking to Big Show about being worried for Daniel in the world title match. A couple funny things here. Daniel Bryan asking, or considering himself coming to the rescue of AJ. and just acting delusional. Then asking AJ very creepily how much she loved him and all this. Like, oh boy. It was bizarre and silly. But overall, it was just more filler heading towards the main event. From there, we got David Otunga versus Santino, and it was good to see Otunga pick up a victory because you don't want to become too much of a joke. I mean, he already is somewhat of a joke anyway. His in-ring work, it's getting better. It's getting better. I mean, I feel obviously he has a look. Obviously, he has a name. He's pretty good on the mic, but the wrestling leaves a lot to be desired. But it was good to see him pick up Finley's old finish. I think that'll be a better move for him than Ron Simmons' Spinebuster. Of course, another short one, as most Santino matches are. If that match wasn't short enough for you, after that we got Brodus Clay's debut on SmackDown, which was a 7-second squash of Tyson Kidd, which is a complete waste of Tyson Kidd, I believe. I kind of hope Tyson Kidd and Natalia's losing streaks, I hope they lead to Tyson Kidd and Natalya being reunited on screen. I think that would help them both, and it would give us another great set of the heel couple. If they don't want to go with AJ and Bryan as a heel couple, I think Natalya and Tyson Kidd would be a great heel couple to go with on SmackDown. Also, I think that time could have been better used. If you're going to have that short amount of time, maybe Brodus should have just cut a promo. I think that would have been a good use to get his voice out there, get whatever catchphrases he may have lined up out there. Of course, as the Funkasaurus. I think that would have been a better use of the time than just crossbody blocking Tyson Kidd. After that, Wade Barrett cut a short promo about not being impressed with Sheamus, and I don't know how far along this feud is going to go, but I would really like to see Sheamus and Wade Barrett's feud really get some time here on the road to WrestleMania, because they really play well off against each other. From there was main event time, The Big Show versus Daniel Bryan, and of course got two veterans of pro wrestling in Daniel Bryan and The Big Show, and really enjoyed their big man, little man dynamic that they have in their matches. I mean, Daniel Bryan is really just a normal size guy. If you've ever been to a WWE show and happened to see, or any time in history you've seen Daniel Bryan, he's pretty much had the same build. I mean, he is a normal size guy, and Big Show just makes him look like such a tiny dude. I thought the match up until the finish was good. Of course, the finish was a bit silly with Big Show running over poor little AJ Lee. And we had to figure something was going to go down. Anytime the WWE announcers are claiming that the title is going to change hands, usually something wacky is going to go down. Some sort of bullshit finish is going to go down. And, of course, Daniel Bryan was just furious that the Big Show would recklessly run over his girlfriend like that. And you kind of think that this is leading towards perhaps a triple threat of Big Show, Mark Henry, and Daniel Bryan. And I'd have to figure that Bryan, of course, would come out of that with the title. I'd love to see what the sequence will be. I mean, will Big Show knock out Mark Henry again, and somehow Daniel Bryan gets the win? I mean, I can't see them really taking the title off of Daniel Bryan unless they're going to hotshot it back to Mark Henry. I really think Mark Henry shouldn't have lost the title yet. I really thought his run was a fun run of him being the Monster Champion. And if they are going to bring Daniel Bryan's first run to a close, I'd like to see it go back to Mark Henry before I see it go to Big Show. I like to say that AJ got juggernauted by the Big Show. It was quite a spot to do, and I thought it came out looking pretty good. Of course, Big Show, being the facey face that he is, was very upset that he ran over the tiny AJ. And of course, Daniel Bryan calling Big Show a reckless bastard at the end was certainly, it just fuels the fire to him being a jerk, pretty much. He's just turned into a complete jerk. Alright, that's the show, guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you guys liked the first episode. Leave some comments for me down there. Like the PWS Facebook page. I recently opened a Twitter account. I'd love you guys to follow me on Twitter. And please leave any show suggestions or comments. Would you like more wrestling stuff? Would you like more pro wrestling stuff? Let me know, because this show is just as much yours as it is mine. And I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in to episode 1 of PWS, Phil's Wrestling Show.